Go to chapter 3, demand curve. So getting started. There's a strong link between the price charged for a good and the amount the people are willing to buy. Look at the example below. So what they are basically saying is that there's always a relationship between the price of a product and the quantity demanded for such products. That is the first point. Now they said we have a case study for the carpet store. They said as if Fidal makes carpet and sell them from his market store inside the inner souk in Fez, Morocco. The table shows this figure. So we have the price, the price in MAD, and we have the weekly purchases. That's the quantity demanded. So based on this schedule, we call this a schedule, okay? We call it a schedule. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so for the price of 60, for the price of 80, for the price of 100, for the price of 120, 140, 160, 180. So the weekly purchase, that means the quantity demanded.
Yes.
At the price of 60, 70, at the price of 80, 60, at the price of 100, 50, at the price of 120, 40, and so on. So the lowest price here is 60, and the highest price is what? 180. I think you can get that.
Yeah.
The lowest quantity is at 10, and the highest quantity is at 70. So what it's trying to let us know is that the lowest price, when the price is low, the quantity demanded increases here. At the lowest price of 60, the quantity demanded was highest at 70. At the highest price of 180, the quantity demanded was 110. That is basically what the schedule is telling us. Now let's go to the question. How many carpets will be bought at a price of 100? 50. Thank you. What happens to the number of carpets bought as the price increases?
They decrease.
They decrease. Thank you. What happens to the number of carpets bought when the price is lowered?
It increases.
What happens to the number of carpet bought when the price is lowered? It increases, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all about that. Now we go down to the demand curve. When we talk about demand curve, a demand curve, effective. No, let me just talk about demand curve first. Yeah, the blue point, demand curve. When we talk about a demand curve is a graph that shows the relationship between. Yes, please. It's a graph that shows the relationship. A demand curve is a graph that shows the inverse relationship between the quantity demanded of a product and the price. Now we go to effective demand. What makes demand effective? So let's read. They said demand is the amount of a good that will be bought at a given price over a period of time. Demand. When you are demanding for a product, it's talking about the quantity of what you are able to buy at a given price and a particular point in time. Now, in economics, they say it is effective demand. Why? How is it effective demand? Yeah, they said in economics, it is effective demand that is really important. Effective demand shows how much will be bought. That is how much people can afford to buy and would actually buy at a given price. It does not mean how much people would like to buy if they had an endless amount of money. It is effective demand if you have the willingness and the ability to buy. The willingness and the ability to buy at a given price and time. That is what effective demand is. It's not when you have endless amount of money with you. You might have endless amount of money, but you might not be willing to buy. Do you understand? So effective demand means your willingness, the ability to buy at that point in time at a given price. That is effective demand. Is it clear? So we go to demand curve. Demand can be expressed graphically. That's why I said the demand curve is what? Is a graph that represents the inverse relationship between the quantity demanded of a product and the price. So consider the information in table 3.2 that was above. This is a demand schedule. That's a demand schedule. A demand schedule is a table that shows the relationship between the quantity demanded and the price. Demand curve is a graph that shows the relationship between the quantity demanded and price. The demand schedule is a table that shows the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Do you understand the difference between demand schedule and demand curve? Great. Now it said there's an information. Okay, so we have this information. This is a demand schedule. The price is $0.25, $0.5, $1, $2. And the quantity demanded 140, 70, 40, 20. So based on this schedule, we have a graph in it. You have the graph there, right? They said the information in this schedule can be presented on the graph, which is already shown. So the demand curve slopes downward from left to right. For most goods, this is always the shape of the demand curve. This is important because it shows the price and quantity demanded have an inverse relationship. So for the demand curve, most of demand curve is always a downward slope. Why is it a downward slope? It's downward slope because the quantity horizontally, the price, when you talk about the price of the product will always, when it is when it falls that the quantity demanded will always increase. Do you get it? Are you with me, please? So they said the demand curve slopes down from left to right for most of the goods. This is what? Inverse relationship. Why do we call it inverse relationship? Here they said when prices go up, demand will fall. At the price of 1, the quantity demanded was 40, right? When the price goes to 2, the quantity demanded falls to what? 20. To 20. So that is what we're talking about. As the price increases, the quantity demanded fall. When price goes down, the quantity demanded will rise. So look at it here. As the price falls from 1 to 0.5, the quantity demanded increases from 40 to what? 70. Do you get it? So that is what they are talking about, the inverse relationship. When the price goes up, the quantity demanded falls. When the price goes down, the quantity demanded increases. Is that clear? Right. We move on. So they say when there is price change, there's a movement along the demand curve. When the price falls from $1 to 50.5, that's 50 cents. We move along the demand curve from A to B to identify the new level of demand. We call that movement. So, movement along the demand curve. In this case, shows that the quantity demanded rises by 30 million units from 40 million to 70 million units when the price falls. This is important because other factors that influence demand, such as income, have a different effect on the demand curve. So before we go into the case study, what they are saying is this: when price changes, there's always a movement along the demand curve. So there are other factors that could change the demand curve. These factors at this point in time remains constant, ceteris paribus. So what I'm saying is that when we are talking about price of a product, we would not talk about other factors that could also affect demand. Demand is not only affected by price, there are other factors that could also make the demand for a product reduces or increases. What I'm saying in essence is this: you could demand for a product because of the price of the product. You could stop demanding for a product due to the price of the product. But there are other reasons that might make you to demand for a product or reduce the demand for a product. We call those ones other factors that are non-price. But right now we are discussing price factor. So for price factor, it will lead to what? A movement in the demand curve, along the demand curve. So we have here the case study: demand for cricket tickets. An Indian cricket stadium has a capacity of 30,000. On the demand curve, okay, tickets to attend international cricket matches in the stadium. So we have 200, 400, 600, 800. The attendance ranges from 7.5 until 30. Are you there? Okay. So what would be the attendance if 400 is charged to attend a match? If 400 is charged to attend a match, it will be between what? That's 7.5. 7,000, that's 7.5, right? In thousand, that would be 7,500. Yes. Great, right? All right. What price must be charged to fill the stadium? To fill the stadium has 30,000 capacity. So what price must be charged to fill this stadium? 800. No, to fill the stadium. 400. No, look at the capacity. The capacity is 30,000. Yes. And to reach 30,000 capacity, how much must be charged? To 200, thank you. So that's the amount to be charged to reach that capacity. I think it's clear. So they said the demand curves from figure 3.1 and 3.2 are both downward sloping curves. In economics, it is common to show demand using a straight line demand curve. The reason for this is to simplify the drawing for demand curve and to make it easier to understand the diagrams. Most demand curves are shown as straight lines, like the one we're going to in the third point. This demand curve shows the demand for car park spaces, and so we'll go to the third one. In the third one, that's 3.3. We have the quantity demanded for cars. It's a straight line now, and the price for each car. So they said the price ranges from 0 to 100, and the quantity demanded ranges from 0 to 600. 3.3, page 21. Are you here? Page 21.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, the prices ranges. So at the price of, so here in the movement along the demand curve, there are two things in movement. It's either it contracts or it expands. If the price of a product increases, the quantity demanded will fall. That is contraction in the demand curve. If the price falls, the quantity demanded expands, increases. That is expansion or extension along the demand curve. So here, so let's take the price at 60. If the price increases from 60 to 80, no, let's say from 60 to 80, the quantity demanded contracts from 300 to 150. Thank you. That is contraction. Let's assume that the price increases from 60, falls from 60 to around 20. That is expansion. The quantity demanded increases from 300 to 600. That is what we call expansion. So contraction is when the price of the product increases. Expansion is when the price of the product falls. Do you have any question about that? Okay, we move on. I'm going to write the note out anyway. Okay. So can we continue, please? Okay. Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So it said if the price of a good changes, there's a movement along the demand curve. A change in any other factor, such as income, for example, will be shown by a shift in the demand curve. The demand curve D1 from figure 3.4 is for package holidays to the Maldives. At the price of P1, consumers are currently buying P1 holidays. If there's an increase in, okay, before I go into shift in demand, I think you understand movement now along the demand curve. Movement is as a result of a pricing factor, which means other factors remain constant. Other factors remain constant. Now we're going to shift in the demand curve. A shift in the demand curve can either be to the right of the demand curve or to the left of the demand curve. That is shift. Shift will be as a result of one, an income. It says, for example, now if there's an increase in income, the quantity demanded will rise at every given price. As a result, the demand curve will shift to the right to D2, shown in the diagram at the price P1. The number of holidays bought would rise from Q1 to Q2. If there is a decrease in incomes, the quantity demanded will fall at every given price. This will cause the demand curve to shift to the left to D3, shown in the diagram at the price P1. The number of holidays bought would fall from Q1 to Q3. So please look at me, please. So what they are saying is this. For income is the amount of money an individual makes. So an individual makes, that's income. So if your level of income increases, that means if the amount of money you make increases, the quantity demanded for certain products or service will increase. Just an example given as here, holiday in Maldives. If the level of income increases, the quantity demanded for holiday in Maldives will increase. But if the level of income falls, the quantity demanded for holiday in Maldives will fall. So if it falls, it will fall. That means it's going to shift leftward from D1 to D3. And the quantity of holiday bought will contract, will reduce from Q1 to Q3. But an increase in the level of income will increase the quantity demanded for holiday in Maldives, which will shift the demand curve rightward from D1 to D2. And the quantity demanded will increase from Q1 to Q2. That is, if holiday in Maldives is considered as a normal good. So listen to me. So when you talk about income level, we have to think about if the good is a normal or inferior good. So for normal goods, the quantity demanded for normal goods will increase when your level of income rises. At that point in time, the quantity demanded for inferior goods will fall because you consider inferior goods as goods that you can always buy when your level of income falls. Do you understand what inferior goods are now? Goods that you think of, services that you think of when you don't have enough. These are considered as inferior goods. But services or goods that you think about buying when your level of income rises are considered as normal goods. Do you have any other questions about this? Great. So the factors that are likely to cause the demand curve to shift are discussed in chapter 4. So when we get there, we'll talk about that. But up to now, we have a question. The first question says, which of the following statements is true about a demand curve? When the price falls, the quantity demanded falls.
Yes.
There's a proportionate relationship between price and quantity demanded. It slopes up from left to right. When there's a price change, there's a movement along the demand curve. D, great. Thank you. Then the second question says, which of the following will cause a demand curve to shift to the left? A fall in the price of a product, a rise in income, for example, a rise in the price of a product, a fall in income, for example, to the left. Shift in demand. D, a shift in demand is as a result of a change in other factors that is not price. Movement in demand will be as a result of price factor. So a change in price could be an increase in price or reduction in price. Change in other factors would lead to a shift in demand curve, either to the left or to the right. Do you have any question about that? So we have a case study which will be done afterwards. So now I will write the notes, okay?